Hey, everybody, it's Eddie from Tokyo, and I have two very special guests with me. I think you must know them, but in case you don't, we have Chip and we have Jeff. They have their own channel. They are part of the XRP community and also the greater communities of crypto. But I'm so pleased to see them. I have been, I can call these guys a friend. I have been working with them on different projects throughout the years. And I'm a big fan of their channel. So welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. It's great to be here. I gotta say.
So why are you here, guys? There's something going on, right? You have something new.
We have something new. We have launched an official NFT project after we've been talking about it for a while, right, Jeff?
For 2 years. 2 years.
2 years. All right. 2 years. And we finally joined the builder community and released an NFT project called the Badass Yetis. And the Yetis, that mythical creature that circles around the Himalaya mountains.
Discover the awe-inspiring universe of the Badass Yetis, comprising 7 diverse clans, each possessing unparalleled abilities and strengths. The mighty Titans are a formidable and courageous clan known for their immense strength and valor. These colossal warriors are celebrated for their fearlessness and determination. The Pathfinders, cute, cuddly, but deadly. Expert hunters and trackers, they navigate mountains with ease. They'll find you if you hide. Trust me, it's best if they don't see you. The Templars are spiritual and wise, deeply understanding the spiritual forces that shape their world. They believe themselves to be the defenders of just and righteousness. The superior craftsmanship of the Frostbeards enables them to produce intricate tools and weapons using the limited resources available in their surroundings. The Shiverspine clan is the most terrifying of the 7 clans, known for their exceptional agility and stealth and ability to move silently and quickly through the snow and ice. With their telekinetic and intellectual prowess, mentalists excel as powerful foes and sought-after allies due to their ability to mentally manipulate the world around them. The Spirit Walkers attune themselves to the earth, animals, and the unseen spirit world. Their exceptional communication skills enable them to connect with the spirits of the land and draw upon their force.
I've not ever seen one, but I've seen yours.
You probably right. If you're in the Himalayas, you run into a Badass Yetis, then you probably don't want it. So
is it like a Sasquatch, but in a Himalayan version of a
yeah, except a lot cooler. Yeah, except a lot cooler because it's a
cooler.
Badass
Doesn't
Yeti.
have that awkward walk. You know, that walk where they drag the knuckles. Like we've seen those photos, those blurry photos. No one can get a really good photo, but there's been blurry photos. And that type of stuff too is you know, there's something there. My dog is going crazy over here, but yeah, so the whole idea, yeah, he wants to be on camera. He loves to be on camera, but yeah, so Jeff and I, it started off as a joke, Jeff. Like we started chatting about the Yeti coin. We said, like, if you were going to create an elusive coin that would be so special and so real, what can we call it? And Jeff and I came up, let's call it the Yeti coin, right? So this is how this whole sort of thing kind of came, an inside joke. People started joking about the Yeti coin. Jeff and I started joking about it. But then behind the scenes, Jeff and I are like, what about a Yeti, like an actual Yeti NFT? So we found an illustrator. We worked with the illustrator. Jeff, how long did we work with Simon?
We worked with Simon probably for the better part of a year, putting together different ideas. And so we came up with a concept of what the Badass Yeti would look like. And then for whatever reasons, we ended up kind of going in our different directions. And so I know Simon works on a lot of different projects. So for us, we had to kind of rethink, how we were going to put this all together. So Chip and I brainstormed and we came up with what is the Badass Yetis NFT today. Which is amazing. It's a complete departure from where we're at before. But the thing is, and here's, everyone keeps asking us about utility of the NFT and being in the United States, this is probably the hardest question to answer because as everybody is well aware, there is no regulatory clarity whatsoever in the US market. And, Chip and I have, a couple good things that we don't want to do. Chip, I don't know if you want to let everybody know the 2 primary objectives of the NFT project that we don't want to have happen.
Yeah, well, here's two things. We have like a rule here at the On the Chain channel here, and two of them are like staying out of court and staying out of prison. Like that's the two things we're gonna we're gonna hold really true to. We're not gonna do that, right? So we don't want to do that. And so the one, one of the things that you've seen on the chain, and we talk about, two of the people that talk about digital assets with utility sort of launched an NFT project that right now it does have a little bit of utility, but again, where we want to take it, what our final objective is for it, is we're building a brand. Where the Badass Yeti is turning into a brand. We've got some other things like bigger, sort of bigger vision, longer plays, but what we didn't want to do was do a one-off series. Like here it is. No, like, for example, there are 4 tribes right now. They're over on XRP Cafe, and you can basically, there's one tribe, the blue tribe, and there are 7 clans. So we've broken them down into characteristics, and we made it fun. We made it a little bit fun of how these little guys operate. And the journey is probably as crazy as doing it, because a lot of times we always tell people, go build something, go figure it out. You like the XRPL? If you like and enjoy what it is, then do something with it. And if you don't, then adopt it. It's like, if you go to XRP Cafe, we'd love you to get a Badass Yeti, but go get something else. Support the community. And the way we get people like mass adoption. Well, it starts with you getting out there and actually doing something and supporting projects and being involved in projects. If you're not going to be a builder, go support somebody else who is.
And it's really spot on. We've seen the same at the same token. We've seen a lot of these NFTs launch, even in the US, and they make these high, lofty promises. A lot of them, are claiming that they're going to build games and all these different objectives. But then the problem being is that as you start expanding down that path, you're opening yourself up to selling that NFT as a security. And, and so that's super problematic when there's zero clarity in this space in the US and not knowing exactly how you're promoting it. And then we see some of the NFT projects that are offering staking and percentage of royalties. Again, they're offering some sort of an incentive, and, they're bringing people in to invest in an enterprise. And so, again, going down a path of problem. So we had to be very, very clear. And it's interesting, too, because as we started looking at this whole thing over the past couple of years, and we drafted out all these amazing ideas, we've come up with all these great use cases. And then we looked back and we're like, wait a minute, we probably can't do that. And it's not even worthwhile talking about it until we can get that path and clarity. And so right now, having fun with the NFT space, I think that's what it's really all about. And it took me a long time, honestly, to get even wrapping my mind around the idea of NFT as an art, and selling NFT art, and so, because when I look at all, blockchain and utility, I'm thinking about the bigger picture of utility. Where are the NFTs going to be going in the future, whether it's with real estate or just proving, claim of ownership to something, or, affixing your digital ownership and your physical ownership, to 2 different product representation. You have the digital representation of your physical asset. So there's so many amazing ideas behind it. But, Chip had said, you have to start someplace, where if you don't start here, how do you get to the beyond? Because the beyond will never exist if we don't start with at least, working with and having fun within the space. So it's been an amazing journey, going through this.
What was the biggest challenge working with the XRP ledger?
I would say that XRP Cafe, first of all, first-rate crew over there, they went above and beyond. When you have 2 newbies like us, and we met with them, and I have to say that they just, when I say hand-holding, they did some hand-holding there, right? Because Jeff and I, and the idea, the whole thing. So as we brainstormed it and created these, a lot of people don't realize like what the amount of effort that goes into them. And with our type of project, which is AI aided, in the sense where people think, oh, AI, you press a button, good luck. If I gave you the prompt that helped create a lot of these, and Jeff and I brainstormed exactly the different tribes, how they would look, there's so much creativity that has nothing to do with AI. That's why I said they're aided by AI. But even though in the creation process itself, there are probably ultimately 3,300 were created, right? We launched 589, like that number, right? It's a fun number in the community. So we launched 589 for the first one. And then we've got like a white tribe, a blue, a black tribe. We have this other tribe, purple tribe. The purple tribe as well. And so the idea behind it was we would just, like Jeff said, let's get it out there. But in the creation process, threw away probably 2 times the ones we actually kept for various different reasons, to be able to iterate, to be able to get it exactly the way you want it. And I can't tell you the number. There probably be fun to launch the reject Yetis, because the reject Yetis would look pretty sad. They would look pretty bad. And so I will say, and when you do an NFT project, some of the things that we didn't realize was like a fast track education system. And part of that was, and with the traditional NFT, where the drawn art, right? You have a base character. That base character, the head, the shoulders, it's more of a profile picture. The background changes, the expression changes. So what an illustrator will draw, 10 different expressions, 10 mouths, 20 noses, a bunch of different eyes, and they'll have them on layers. So all of these layers sort of stack on top of each other. When you get all of the attributes, so you're maybe drawing 150 to 200 different items, right? The base, all these other ones, the crazy hats, the funny backgrounds, the different things. Sometimes people do more, 250, 300. Then you run them through a program that you say, okay, these are all the noses, these are all the eyes. And so you know how the layers take place. The base is here, the hats go here. And then when you run it, you cross your fingers and you hope that your layers and your hypotheses was right. And then you can create 5,000, 10,000 variations, which also will tell you the rarities. You can say, hey, this one is going to be rare. This weird glasses or this weird look, that's going to be a rare. And we want that to be 5%. That's how you create your rarity. Not so with our project, right? So when it's AI aided, Jeff and I had to, the biggest struggle for us is that the neat thing about XRP Cafe is they have 2 places on the blockchain. If one were to fail, which is highly unlikely, there's a backup location. That's great, but actually uploading those was a little bit of a trouble there. But the biggest thing is the JSON file. JSON file looks like you open it up and a text editor looks like a piece of code. It's got your typical type of code, and that has all of the attributes in there. Every NFT has a JSON file. That JSON file is what tells you everything associated with that, where it's located on the blockchain, what name it is, what attributes you have, and then ultimately you'll be able to calculate the rarity. With ours, we had an issue because ours was AI aided. That's a tough thing to say over and over. And so Jeff and I defined, this is what's great. We devised a scheme where we asked them like, hey, how do we do this? Because if Jeff and I got to create these JSON files and you have like one
individually
comma, if we did them individually and there's one comma to place, it would be just a nightmare. And so Jeff and I are like, what do we do now? So we reached out to them and said, hey, what if we give you a comma delimited spreadsheet, and with all the headings and things, could you guys take that and turn that into JSON files? They said, hey, give us a sample. So we did that. So Jeff and I painstakingly had to go through 589 of them and go through the attributes. Now we created them with attributes. Some have 2 eyes, some have 1, they have red eyes, right? The attributes were there, but we had to manually create every single one of them in a file that we then gave to XRP Cafe. They ran a script and they turned it into these beautiful, awesome JSON files. So it was a process. We didn't even know how we'd get there, but this is the thing. You talk about this all the time. If you don't start, Jeff just said it, if you don't start, you don't get there.
The learning curve was amazing, so as we start, dwelling in the AI space, there's a lot of misinformation out there. You see a lot of articles that are being written about AI, how AI is telling people to do certain things, or people are putting up all these articles that they're asking the Chat GPT about what they should be investing in today. It's all false, right? Because the data on Chat GPT, for instance, cut off at 2021. That was the end of its learning. So how is it that you can get any more information out of it 2 years in? But it's interesting working with Chat GPT from a text perspective, and then working with Midjourney from a graphics perspective. And, like Chip was saying, understanding how to utilize the prompts, and, Chip dove like head first right into the shallow end, with the Midjourney, and trying to really figure out like how. And so when we go into that AI assisted, it's been an unbelievable journey, right? And so what did we not know before? A year ago, putting together a project like this would have been even more difficult. And 2 years ago, it wouldn't even have existed, right? Because it's so interesting as we start moving down this path. But it's crazy because we see so many people like, oh, it's just and I'm guilty of it too. I'm like, oh, it's an NFT. How easy is that? You just put it up and you throw it into the blockchain. But then when we start going down this path of how many days and weeks and months go into creating this, and think about the fact that we launched 589. And like Chip was saying, if we had to go through and recreate every single one of those individual JSON files, we're so close and ingrained into the project. It was so interesting as I started to see the Badass Yetis minting, and we've gone through every single one of them, all 589, and you start gaining a specific familiarity with them, right? And so as I start seeing them minting, I'm like, oh, I remember that one. I remember, and it's out of the 580. We haven't even got to the rest of them yet. We're only in the blue tribe, but writing the background story of the Badass Yetis was a blast. We've gone through multiple iterations of that. We've taken kind of the bigger general theme of it and then breaking down, who's the blue tribe, who's the white tribe, who's the black tribe, who's the purple tribe. We haven't even launched the other tribes yet. And here we are in the blue tribe. And then we came up with the 7 clans and having new characteristics to each one of those 7 clans. Who are they? Why should you fear the Pathfinders? What's unique about each one of the 7 clans? And here's another level of complexity. We gave every single one of the NFTs, each Badass Yetis has its own name as well. And the name is almost impossible to pronounce. So then we had to put, some parentheses to actually show you the pronunciation of it. And then for some reason, I was messing around and I said, what would be really cool? Why don't we have a Badass Yetis language?
Yeah, there you go.
So,
I was thinking that.
So I started drafting a language and I started going from like basic structure. And that was AI aided as well. I don't think, trying to sit down and come up with that yourself would be, very difficult. You have to be a linguist expert, but I started playing around with that and I've learned multiple languages. And so it was fun trying to create at least the base. And then getting into what are some of the base structures. If you're trying to learn a brand new language, what are some of the common things that you want to know how to say, just to, every day, just basic. So I kind of came up with that structure and that was fun.
Hello,
so
Jeff.
What's that?
You say hello?
Hello.
No, and Yeti.
I'm going to pull up. Let me pull up some of the cool, a few of the cool phrases. I'll pull them up.
Each other? Do they speak the same language, the different clans?
So each clan has its own dialect. And I, didn't want to go down the path of creating 7, each tribe has its own dialect, I should say. So the clans within the tribe all speak their own. So I came up with Bay, which is, the Badass Yetis language. It's their common dialect. So that's how the tribes communicate, between themselves. So
and if you think of India, right? So India, there's so many different dialects, but again, they all can communicate either English or Hindi. So it's like it's very much that same way. Go ahead, Jeff.
So I was going to say, so here's some of the common phrases. Like if you were to say hello, which just means greetings, it's yarluk, which is YARLUUK, and then to say goodbye, it's kalmor, which kind of means farewell. And then it's fun, trying to come up with if you say hello to someone, you say Yarluk, but then how do you say hello to you too? Kind of as a return greeting. It's basically means greetings also because Yarluk means greetings. So you would say Yarluk Nar, and Yar or Nar meaning to you. And so it's fun. There's one this kind of phrase that the Badass Yetis always say. And the direct translation of it is, I see you, our enemies will fall and we will be victorious. I see the fire in your eyes, the fear in your heart, the sword in your hand, and the anger in your voice. I see, but it does not matter because we will hunt you down. Goodbye. So if I could read that in Bay,
Oh,
But I'm not going to go through the whole thing in Bay, but we came up with, that was like their typical, saying if they're, amongst themselves, kind of as a prideful, the baddest Yetis are super prideful. They have a lot of pride, and each clan, within itself also, has its own unique attribute.
When you think about this entire project, and as we're going down it, it just got a level deeper, like a language. Oh my gosh, a language. And it's like, well, what about the characteristics, and what about the look? And, like the Spirit Walkers borrow a little bit from, Native Americans, even though you're like, wow, it's over in Himalayas, but just from the designs and intricate stuff. So some of that, there's little bits and pieces. There's some like little hidden gems in there. There is sometimes they call those, what do they call that in a movie of something? I forget what they call that, but Easter eggs. Yeah. Like right. Little Easter eggs here and there that of the characters. And if you watch the show and stuff, little tiny little pieces of that in there. But the building itself, and the other thing Jeff brought up too, which I think is important to note here, is that when we started the project, remember, there were no NFTs on the XRPL, right? We hadn't had the amendments. I don't think the amendment was in draft form at the point. And so we were always like, don't worry, we have time. We're not going to launch on another chain, because we went to the NFT Miami and got a lot of weird looks. People are like, what chain are you on? We're like, XRPL. They're like, It was like this very weird, like, it was like, what do you mean on Ethereum? What are you talking about? What chains are there? I mean, Solana and all these other type of chains, but they were like stumped until one guy jumped up out of his chair. He was actually sitting in one of these booths. He's like, oh my God, that was my entry point. That's how I got into crypto, was XRP. Oh my God, that's awesome. Like, so you did hear some things where people were like curious about it and like, well, tell me about the chain and tell me, how does it work? So we didn't get a lot of pushback, just weird looks. People didn't say, we didn't get Maxiism. We just got curiosity, which I think is a pretty good moving forward, because people always hear like people were opposed to it, or like, can't believe you would build on anything but Ethereum. No, but I think it was a lot of people that were like, that's interesting. Or like, what are some of the properties, or why do you build there? And we talked about the low transactions, the speed, and there's a lot of things that really go into it. So it's pretty badass.
So it doesn't need hooks, right? We don't need to have the hooks functionality to
correct.
Right. So
don't need a smart contract. It's not necessary and that's the other right. advantage as well. Simpler. That's huge. Yeah. Simple to create.
There's other projects. I think the Badass Yetis, it's probably one of the most unique projects that are out there. There's a lot of copycat projects, and for some reason the copycat projects are getting a lot of attention. I don't get that. It's like if you create something and the artist or that whoever created it is known for that specific NFT, why do the copycats get as equal attention? I mean, that to me is kind of mind numbing. It's like, go create your own thing, make it look different, give it some different attribute. Don't make it the exact same overlap with a very similar name, and that, I don't get that part of it. And so that's where, we have this big kind of, a differentiator, for the Badass Yetis. So unique. But overall, I think all the projects that are launching on the XRPL and using XRP Cafe or one of the other XRPL based platforms, it's amazing because we're all pioneers. The Ethereum based NFT has already been proven, right? The open seas of the world, everybody knows it. It's already been circulated for a while, but the XRPL base is brand new. And like Chip was saying, we were waiting. We didn't want to launch on ETH. We wanted to launch this on the XRPL. So as soon as that became available, and then all of a sudden, now we're in, rapid production mode. We got to get it out there, but we're still in that pioneer space. Obviously, blockchain, crypto, we're still in a toddler phase. There's still so much further that this is going to go. Lots of resistance out there, from certain political elements that are resisting and trying to maintain their power hold on everything. But this is amazing. We're right there, and the future is bright. The future is unbelievable. So I'm just really honored to be able to be part of it at this phase, not just on the podcast side that Chip and I have done for a long time, but now on the building side.
So XRP.cafe, they put out this really good tweet. They were over at Consensus, which was great to see the representation, seeing all the people. I just love seeing all the photos, right? It was great to see, blockchain backer hanging out with John Deaton.
Did you see
And of
my
course, Solomon.
collage?
Solomon did some amazing, I can't wait to see the coverage that he did. And, and I saw the pictures of Solomon with everybody. So it was really awesome. It was like, wait a minute. We have met, Jeff and I have met blockchain backer, but we have not met Solomon. So it's like, there's like you're one person removed from actually, I'm like, okay, next up, we got to meet Solomon, right? King Solomon. It's like, you kind of get there, but they put out this tweet, fast. When we think about the XRPL ledger, the XRP ledger, 3-second speeds, less than a cent in fees. So, and it's also secure because everything's layer one, like you mentioned, Eddie, there's no smart contracts that are needed. And because it's a layer one DEX, it has that built-in DEX for its protocol. So there's no necessity for any third parties. And the big one for us, and especially for creators, our royalty on this is $5.89. What that means is that if the Badass Yeti sells, if somebody takes theirs and they mint for 125 XRP, if somebody wants to sell one, let's say 175. So when they sell it for 175, Jeff and I, as the creators, will always get 5.89%. So this is one of the things the XRPL really has to an advantage is these royalties are permanent and the creators always get paid. And I think this is an important thing to note because if you look at places like OpenSea, they've been really kind of winding down that creator mode. They've sort of been putting that down. And this is one of the most important things. If you're a creator, imagine you sell a piece of music and then someone sells that, or you sell a piece of artwork. So in perpetuity, it's always going to be tied back to whatever that is, we had some fun with it. So 5.89%, which is really big. And the users, since also layer one anti-spam, meaning that users can choose which NFTs that you allow into your wallets. So there's not going to be you're not going to get spam with garbage. The decentralization part of it, that the ledger changes require, that 80% UNL agreement, plus that 2-week period. So you've got this completely decentralized thing, and it just so head and shoulders above any other chain, really, at this point anyway, I'll say. And also supports, any of the popular metadata standards, the IPFS, which we learned about, which we had no clue about, and Airweave storage. And those are the two places. And we said, well, guys, why do you go to two places? And they said, suppose one fails, you're always going to be safe with this. We're like, okay, what are the chances of that? They said, well, one guarantees 100 years. The other one guarantees like 200 years, something like that, or a lifetime. And I'm like, okay, I'll be gone by then, but that's cool. I mean, I'm glad you do it. You do it that way. And so that was a really important tweet that they put out because I think it really speaks to the nature of the XRPL. And so for us, after talking about it for so long, to actually be able to build a project upon it was just fun.
So do the files themselves, they're not living on the XRP ledger. They only come into the XRP ledger when they make a transaction. Is that correct? So they're up in a cloud using they're using two different storage solutions.
IPFS. IPFS is one of them, and that's where most of your popular ones, like let's say, like you see, like on OpenSea, and then Arweave, ARWEAVE. Arweave is the other one, and so that's actually the blockchain storage, like the actual storage place where they are. It's weird because when you're using like Dropbox or any of these like normal modern ones, you expect look, I've got these fast speeds with my internet, I expect it to be there. And it's like, no, it's got to go through a whole cycle period. It takes a half an hour before it finally checks itself and makes sure that it's there, but then that's permanent, right?
And all of this gets back to the community building and the excitement. So we've had some amazing support getting to this point, from the XRP Cafe and from our on the chain community, and then beyond. We've met a lot of new amazing people that came just because of their passion in NFT. And so that's also unique for us. That's a whole brand new community of people that we've never interacted with. And we're just in the beginning stages of that. So we're really looking forward to seeing, how much better we get to know those people and how many more new people we get to meet in the space.
That was the thing that was interesting about this project. So many people, this was their first NFT, and a lot of it was because because of the on the chain community. It was amazing for them to reach out, like, what do I do? And quite honestly, I have to say, it's so easy. You connect your Zum wallet, to the correct wallet. Some people have multiple wallets inside of their Sum, And you know, you click mint, it goes to the transaction, you authorize it, and that's pretty much it. But again, if you've never done it, but people reaching out that have never, I mean, that was, I think, the most gratifying thing, that people that just never thought about an NFT were into NFTs. And then Jeff said the people that were into NFTs, these were people that weren't on our radar, had no clue about our podcast, don't know anything about it. So it builds that bigger community. We have a Discord, which is great. You know, hopefully you'll include a link to where you can go mint the Badass Yetis. And of course, we have a little video that kind of explains each one of the clans and all that as well, which is on at Badass Yetis on Twitter. You just go on there. It's the very pinned tweet. You can see that as well. But again, we made it fun. And if you want to know something, another little surprise too, is the voiceover for that we used 11 Labs, and that is an AI aided voice. So, you know, you listen to that voiceover and you say, wow, this sounds like how is that not a real human? So if it was a little long in the tooth, I could go back and tweak that word and then get the exact thing I needed. And how Jeff and I used to do it was, you'd go to Fiverr, you'd find a voiceover talent, it cost you $150, and you go like, oh, I wish we could tweak. And you can't really chop it up because it doesn't sound right, you know, the normal cadence of a voice, the way someone speaks. But man, that was even fun. I was like, and then pitching the voice down and then playing with the voice to kind of get that emphasis and that right thing. And super excited the way it came out. And yeah, just had a blast on this project, which is a departure for Jeff and I. But man, what we look at doing for what's the future of the Badass Yetis? Well, we plan on rolling out a product. We plan on it being a brand. We don't plan on it being a one-off. Now, here's the thing, because of the way the regulatory clarity is, we're not making any promises, right? There are no promises about what's to come. We have plans. These are long visions and stuff, but we don't want to get into that trap of, so many people are doing staking. So many people have exposure. We want to stay away. You know, when we talked with an attorney, stay away from all that. So that's why when people say, what's the utility? We'll roll some stuff into it. We will be releasing some utility. But again, it wasn't what we originally wanted to roll out. But hopefully we'll get some clarity soon and we'll be able to make that a reality.
Well, yeah, once the clarity comes, I think the use cases will just explode. And I really appreciate you breaking it down and telling us part of your journey. It's very, very exciting. And I'm glad that you did it. And I'm sure it's changed you for the better in terms of being a community member who is participating. And I loved your little bit of a rant that it takes everybody's participation to make this adoption really happen.